Now we're going to talk about Wilson Odobert and we're going to talk about Brennan Johnson. One player who's had a lot of chances and somewhat failed to impress despite scoring a huge number of goals and a decent number of assists. And one player who impressed in patches despite not getting that many chances. Brennan Johnson, I don't think we can get rid of. But I do think potentially he's a player whose squad place is under risk, despite the fact he scored so many goals, because he's a player that finishes and moves off, but he doesn't seem to get involved in the moves themselves that much, is my particular thing. Wilson Odobert, I love him. I think he's great. I think he's a magic little player, and I hope to see more of him next season. David, what are your thoughts on this?
Odobert's only 3 years younger than Brennan Johnson. Um,
Yeah.
the point I'm making is that I think Brennan Johnson's still got an awful lot of development to come. And I think he's shown pretty amazing mentality to go through what he went through at the beginning of the season and then come back in the team and score, was it 6, 7 goal matches in a row? I mean, God knows where we would be without his goals. I'm pretty keen on. I think Brennan Johnson still has a lot of potential. There's a lot more to come. Obviously, the main problem is his contribution when he's not scoring. I mean, I got fed up with saying it last season. I could actually hear myself and just wanted to punch myself in the face. But it's true. It feels like he's not scoring, he's not contributing. I've said it again. So he really needs to work on that. He really, really needs to work on that. But if he can work on that, if he can improve it, I think we've got like a really big talent on our hands, and somebody that's shown an awful lot more talent than Wilson Odobert, who was, sadly for him, injured for a huge amount of the season and probably put in a couple of decent 20-minute here, 20 minutes there. So I've got no idea what I think about Wilson Odobert. I just simply have no idea. I'll just say Wilson Odobert and Mattis Tell, you know, it's more of these young punts for the future. I kind of like something a bit more ready now, to be honest, than Wilson Odobert or Mattis Tell. And I know we're not talking about it because he's on loan, but
No, no, he's going to be included. He's coming up next.
okay.
Ash, what do you think?
Um, Johnson, he's almost like the opposite of Solanke, who works his butt off and gets so
Yeah.
few goals. And Johnson, he runs, he does cover a lot of ground, but doesn't seem to, as other people have noticed, contribute as much. But those goals, I mean, that's the hardest thing to do in football is score goals. And he does the hardest thing in football, which is to score goals, including the winner in the final. Yeah, if he's only 22, let's hope he continues to develop. I did notice that he was actually getting a little bit better in the second half, or maybe just in the Europa games, on helping to cover Paro, which means
Yeah,
that
I
he was,
noticed that too. Yeah.
yeah.
He
So,
really improved and was much more visible at the end of the season, I felt.
so, so
Yeah.
he's learning and he's young and he's learning and fantastic. Odobert, don't know. He's like Mikey Moore, a few flashes. Just unfortunately, I just don't know. I'm sure we're going to keep him, but I just don't know what his ultimate contribution can be.
Charlie.
Well, I look at teams like Brentford and I see an established front line there full of really exciting young players who have been, really well blooded into the Premier League, and you've now got an incredible front line there that is now attracting attention everywhere. And Spurs are nowhere at it at all. We've got an aging left winger who cannot be captain next year. He cannot be first in the team sheet. I know I'm sort of like broad scoping the front line here, but I think it's important. Mattis Tell sounded like an exciting player, comes in, plenty of promise, and just like Odobert, isn't proven. And the most frustrating thing about Odobert is that he was the second choice to Desiree Doué when we were after Desiree Doué, in the summer, or touted to like be looking at him. Look at Desiree Doué now, man of the match, could have had a hat trick in the Champions League final. That's the difference between going for, being the great pretenders and saying you want all these great players, and actually going for the best players out there. And I'm not saying that, he wasn't coached to greatness there, and it's a different situation. But Odobert, we needed that strong attacking option that was proven last year. We didn't have it, and he was injured with the match. And then, Johnson's got his critics and all that kind of stuff, but we needed that player, and we didn't get him because we went cheap. We went for a Burnley player who got recently relegated, and I think Odobert does have promise. I'm not quite sure what his position is because people are saying that he's a 10. But it's just annoying me how every single time we go for the big player, it was the same with Solanke, and I think Solanke's good, but I don't think he's the top striker that we need to become great again. I think he's good, but I just don't think he's great. And again, it's like this time-told thing with Daniel Levy, where he says he wants to go for the big player, everyone gets excited, and then you end up with Wilson Odobert, and the player that you were going to sign gets man of the match in the fucking Champions League final. Yeah. And Mbeumo, by the way, Mbeumo is who I get in the right wing, but it looks like he's going to United.
Going to Man U by the sound of it.
I don't think Johnson
quadruple his wages.
He's not a starter, Johnson. He was great off the bench in the early times of Postecoglou, and I think he's a bench player. I think he's a top bench player, top one.
Okay, Marcel.
Yeah, pretty much what Charlie said, I think. Odobert, I think, has shown that he's got some skill, and he hasn't really had much opportunity to show it. He runs at people. I quite like that side of it. But as you said, will he contribute goals like Johnson does? And Johnson drifts around and pops up and scores a goal. If we could have somebody called Brennan Odobert, that'd probably be good.
Combine the two.
Yeah,
that's £100 million player.
Medical science hasn't gone that far yet, and certainly not with our medical team anyway. But again, it was cutting costs, and we got somebody probably the level down from what we really needed. And let's hope this time we don't miss that opportunity, because we've got a good opportunity ahead of us. Do we keep them both?
According to the French media, we did go in for Désiré Doué. That was the point that PSG stepped in and said, no, thank you very much, we'll have him. And he was at that point he was always going to go to PSG. No, he wanted to go to PSG. That was who he had his heart set on, and he made it work. Kjetil,
aptly named, isn't he? Doué.
Yeah.
Désiré Doué, the desire for the gift. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Kjetil.
Yeah, about Odobert, I just don't know. We'll just have to see if he gets there or not. I am a bigger fan of Brennan Johnson than maybe any of you are. And I've seen him do the defensive work that nobody actually notices, maybe. The tweak that has been done on the right side in the last part of the season has been to let Porro row forward almost as much as you want to, and then actually have Brennan Johnson covering up the space that he leaves behind. So the defensive work rate done by Brennan Johnson for the last couple of 3 months has been magnificent. So and then he actually pops up on that back post to score goal after goal after goal. So I really like him, and he will be an integral part of the attacking system on the right side coming up the next season.
If we're talking about the right side, I'm absolutely amazed that throughout the season nobody has said that we should be playing Jed Spence at right back and Pedro Porro at right wing.
I don't know why nobody's had that idea. It was
I don't know.
Yeah.
No, David.
Did you
just it would seem like an obvious thing, right?
Did you just think of that by yourself?
I'm sure someone mentioned it. Ross, come on. Ross, finish this off.
Odobert needs a full season at the club. I spoke to someone at Burnley the day he signed. I was very lucky, free work. And he was like, nah, he's a beast. Keep him. You're very lucky. So, and, I hate them players that keep scoring goals. So, yeah, what's Brennan Johnson doing? Bless him. It's such a gear, scoring them goals. Then winning trophy goals.
Yeah, get rid of him. Get rid of him.
To be fair, that was an own goal, right?
I've seen an angle on Google Earth with my eyes shut where he gets a full
He gets a
foot on it.
final touch. Right, okay.
I go with your wafer for once. No, I keep Johnson. I do like him. He just needs to work a little bit harder. That's all. If every player could work a little bit harder, but what he brings in terms of goals, the odd assist, I think it's just we need a settled team for a good couple of months, and I think these players would blossom. We haven't had it for 18 months, so we still come out with a trophy. We're such a shoot ourselves in the foot club. It's just so funny how we get from the euphoria of winning the Europa League to, oh my God, we don't know who our manager is going to be. And yet, Man U are signing players. We're such a great club, aren't we? No, keep both of them. I really like Odobert. He could blossom into a 10. Keep Johnson because he keeps scoring them pesky goals. Darn him.
I know if Austin was here, he would absolutely bring up a comparison with Jimmy Greaves. All he does is score goals. So yeah, it's a terrible habit to have.